it's Flo, and this is my impression of a person having a phone conversation in the elevator. What? Yeah, no, I'm in the elevator. The elevator! Yeah! Anyway, I bundled our home and auto insurance through Progressive. No, bundled! We're gonna save big bucks now. No, bucks! Bucks!
Bundle your home and auto through Progressive and save.
Hello? Hello? She hung up.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates. Home insurance provided and serviced by other select insurers.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show, covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Glad to be here on this Wednesday. Yes, it is finally Hump Day, and we're here to help you get through the week. Make sure you guys check me out on Twitter at CJ Sports 1. Check out the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com, or check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. I tell you what, had a few kinks, couldn't do the show Monday and Tuesday due to computer issues and stuff going on in the studio. But what just happened? I left Friday and everything, all the world was just normal, and here we are come Wednesday night, and everything has changed. Oh, we had a Daytona 500. We had a company change to let us know that they're changing manufacturers. That is interesting to me. I'm a firm believer, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You just came off of a championship and a second place finish in the points in the championship, and yet we're finding out next season you're no longer going to have the same manufacturer. We're going to talk about that as well. We got Austin Geer joining us tonight from Rev Racing, drives legendary cars. We're going to get an opportunity to get to know this driver professionally, personally, and everything in between. And very excited about having another one of those young, talented drivers. 14, yes, I said 14 years old. I guess 14 years young. Youngest driver out over there at Rev Racing. So very excited to get the opportunity to meet him here at, as a matter of fact, he's not even turned 14 yet. He's still 13. He'll be turning 14 this fall. So youngest driver over there at the over at Rev Racing was the recipient of NASCAR's Young Racer Award in 2014. Looking for the opportunity to be able to sit down and have a little chat with young Austin. So very excited about that. Got some other topics we're going to jump into. Don't forget, you can check out the 110 Nation Sports Show Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. with Thursday being a slight twist. What we do is we kind of combine. We got the Racing with Big Sweat making his return. Yes, Big Sweat, Steve Billmeyer himself. And he's got a whole show full of people. So looking forward to hanging out with him and opportunity to meet a couple young drivers. And then they got Lauren Rayner coming back on the show. Used to be the spotter for Damon McMurray. Now he's got his own race team in the K&N Pro Series going on. So we're going to have him on the show tomorrow night. Also, don't forget, we got Happy Hour Garage Sunday nights at 7 p.m. with that great show from over there. And then we got the Dirt Talk Hour at 9 p.m. Had a great show. If you missed Sunday night show, you missed one hell of a show. Young Taylor, I want to say she was 7 years old. Throttle got stuck, and one of the track promoter track directors had to basically tackle the car before things really got out of control. Got her out of the car safely. Had to have help. This incident helped change some safety features, and I tell you what, just one simple line that she said on that show. Hour and I want to say 20-minute long show. Hour and 27 minutes, as a matter of fact. And one line is all it took in the middle of the show, and she had stole the whole show. If you want to know what that line is, you've got to check out that show. But yeah, she managed to steal the show Sunday night. Also, we got Rev Racing has made its return. We were back for the second time this last Monday night. Man, that was before everything kind of went haywire. Steve Billmeyer joined me back in the studio. Had a great time over there talking NASCAR, so make sure you guys check that out. And we got a delay on the 110 Nation morning show. The studio is going to be doing a facelift and a move, so once we get that done, I will be going back to having the 110 Nation morning show as well. Just things are kind of hectic going on right here, so we kind of had to put a delay on that. I think that's all the shows we got going on. I say that like we ain't got, a crap ton of shows going on. We got like 22 hours of shows going on, but yes, it seems like that's the finesse of it. Make sure you guys check it out. Got to make sure that shout out to the I-95 Sports Network. With one of their patients, as we had issues the last couple of days, was unable to send a show over there, and I know they got a spot for us, so got a shout out to those guys for their patience and the fact that they re-syndicate our show over on their network and send our apologies. Also got to thank Rev Racing for everything that they've done, press releases and sending drivers our way to be able to talk to on the show. So I really appreciate, and everybody here at the 110 Nation really appreciate the opportunity of getting to know these young drivers, and I love being able to do this. This is probably one of the biggest highlights of the year every year, is getting to know all these different drivers and be able to keep up with these drivers and get to have them back on the show further down the line and see how their career has progressed. And it's a really cool thing, and I love having the opportunity to do that. Let's jump into that. Well, I want to congratulate the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know it's premature, but they're up by 28 points or 18 points. Yeah, 18 points. I think it's pretty safe to say that Cleveland is going to go on to win this game very easily. But a very good game, as they're shooting almost 50% from downtown. And Channing Frye has finally made his way onto the roster with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Got everything squared away. Got through the physical. 4 for 6 tonight from downtown, and that was the key thing. That's what the Cleveland Cavaliers brought him on. They got the big man Kevin Love, who's a 3-point shooter and is calling a big body. You got Channing Frye out there, 3-point shooter, big body, scoring 15 points tonight, second in points. Behind Kyrie Irving and LeBron James, who both have 23. And behind J.R. Smith, who was also 2 for 3 from downtown as well. And then you've got LeBron James and Kyrie Irving up the middle with their capabilities of doing what they do. And, of course, Tristan Thompson with another double-figure rebound tonight with 10 rebounds. I tell you what, this Cleveland Cavalier team every single week is looking stronger and stronger. There's obviously no doubt in our mind that Cleveland's got the East. Now can they tackle the big bad West? Can they? It's not even really the big bad West. It's really just the Golden State Warriors. As we watched without Channing Frye, we watched it shorthanded at that with them missing Cunningham and Anderson Raja on the trade. Mo Williams was out. Channing Frye still hadn't went through the physical, and yet the Cleveland Cavaliers mauled over the Oklahoma City Thunder, beat them by almost 20 points. It was really embarrassing. And watching Oklahoma City, who normally scores 110 points, muster up like 93 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Was very impressed at what Cleveland did. We're talking about impressive, 40 points in the second quarter. How impressive was that for the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight? I know it's Charlotte, but Charlotte 29-26. They're a team that's in the playoff and trying to keep their playoff hunt alive, and it's just not looking real good for the Charlotte Hornets tonight anyway. But I'll tell you what, this outside of the Golden State Warriors, I don't think there's anybody that could go toe-to-toe, especially in the series with the Cleveland Cavaliers, especially and moving forward at this point with this addition. LeBron James, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, Kyrie Irving, Dellavedova having a career year as well. Mozgov doing a very good job coming off the bench, giving valuable minutes for Tristan Thompson, getting the rebounds with 8 rebounds again tonight. Of course, Richard Jefferson coming off the bench doing what he does, 3 for 4, field goal, 1 for 1 for downtown. And then, of course, Channing Frye. And that's not even, and that's with James Jones not playing tonight, Sasha Khan not playing, and Amon Shumpert still out, and then, of course, Mo Williams still out. That's I tell you what, a lot of great pieces there in Cleveland. Very excited and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. And with 4 minutes left and up by 20 points, I think Cleveland's feeling pretty confident about tonight's win. We also got Indiana at home over New York right now, 102-99, 3-point game with about just as soon as I say Mo Williams, they play. Mo Williams enters the game for Kyrie Irving. So obviously it's time to start pulling out the starters for the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's time to start getting those bench guys some valuable time. But you also got Detroit at home putting a beat down, a real big beat down on Philadelphia, up by almost by 30 points. Still about halfway to go in the third, 75-46. Miami and Golden State halfway through the third in Miami. They're tied at 66 apiece. Toronto at home against Minnesota. Minnesota ends up 74-73 with about 5 minutes as well left in the third. We got Washington in Chicago at the half. Chicago's up 57-55. Also at the half, Memphis at home against the Lakers up 67-58. Oklahoma just getting underway in the second quarter as Oklahoma's up 35-26 over Dallas in Dallas. And then we got some later games that we'll talk about later on as they get underway later in the show. But that's your NBA action going on tonight, and gotta say I'm rather impressed with what we're seeing what we're seeing out of these Cleveland Cavaliers, and just looking forward to see this team gel and these pieces come together and see the unity amongst this team and see how well the Cleveland Cavaliers work together. We got an opportunity this last weekend to watch the Daytona 500. And for those that are diehard NASCAR fans, such as myself, you got the opportunity to watch the Truck Series race. You got the chance to watch the Xfinity Series race. And you got the chance to watch the Sprint Cup Series race. I got the opportunity to see all of them. And taking advantage of it while I can. I'm not going to always have access to the cable, and so I got to get it while I can, and then figure out how I'm going to do that from there on out. But, there was a lot of people that weren't satisfied. And I saw this a lot, especially the Sprint Cup Series race. Oh, the first 499 laps was just boring. It wasn't until the last lap. That's the only. First of all, if you're new to the sport, when it comes to the Daytona 500, I'm going to break this down to you because this is how it works every single year. The guys come out, and ladies, and they spend the first 30 to 50 laps feeling it out, jumbling around 2 wide, 3 wide at times, kind of getting a feel, know what kind of adjustments they need, know what they need, so they can set their car up, what it's like in pack and everything, in 2 lanes, so they know how to get their car set up. So when we get to the last 25, 30 laps, their cars are set to give them a chance to win the race. In between that first 25, 30, 50 laps, and that last 25, 30 laps, there's going to be a period of about a good 100, 150 laps maybe, that it's more about 100 laps. You're looking about 30, 40 laps at the beginning, maybe 50, that first window of pit, and then the last 25, 30 laps, 125 laps. You're going to have these guys, they done been gripping the steering wheel as tight as they possibly can, on the edge of their seat, feeling their cars out, first race of the season, getting themselves the itch and getting the anxiety and the everything worked out. They're just going to calm down. Now they need an opportunity to just kind of ride. They got to make it there. And there's no sense of being up on the wheel and be on the edge of your seat for the full 500 miles. Could you imagine having your imagine? I had this opportunity many times, especially when I was in the military. I ain't done so much. Matter of fact, I hardly done it all since I was out of the military. But when I was in the military, I used to go home all the time. It was about 550, maybe 600 miles. I can't remember. Somewhere in that ballpark. And but unfortunately, I couldn't do it in 2 or 3 hours. It took me like 9 hours. But I couldn't imagine driving the whole 5 hours with the whole 500 miles, or 550, 600 miles, with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight that my knuckles and my hands are white, and sitting on the edge of the seat with intensity, weaving in and out of traffic and everything else. It was enough to be weaving in and out of traffic, doing about 75, 80, going down the West Virginia Turnpike, up and down the mountains, swerving in and out of the traffic, trying to make the best time I could. But I couldn't imagine being up on the wheel for 500 miles or plus. And I don't know why everybody expects, just because they're race car drivers, that they're going to sit on the edge of this seat and grip their steering wheel that tight for 500 miles. It only makes logical sense that they're going to feel this thing out, get their car set up for the end of the race, and then ride it out so they make it there. Why be involved with the wreck because you're white-knuckling it at lap 100 when there's 200 laps? That absolutely positively makes no sense. But meantime, while everything is going on, you had wrecks, you had pit stops. There was a lot of different things going on. And then you got an opportunity to listen to those in the studio, kind of school you on some things you probably didn't know. And so when I see these comments on Facebook and any other platform of social media and in conversation, all I can do is just like smack myself in the forehead and just shake my head. I'm like, do we see the offense of the Denver Broncos out there for the full 60 minutes? No. They ride with the defense, though. And every sport has their up and their down and the momentum and everything else. So I don't understand why it's even feasibly possible that anybody sit there and makes these kind of comments and stuff. I tell you what, though, for a sport that so many people, I'm not going to watch it no more, this is garbage and this, that, and the other, you could not have asked for a better weekend of racing. In the 3 races, we saw one race end with trucks flipping. We watched the other 2 races with first and second place coming to the finish line, beating each other's doors down to find out who's going to be the winner. And then on top of that, the Sprint Cup Series race finished with the closest finish in Daytona history ever. Now, how could you not enjoy a weekend of that? I don't get it. Not at all. Just like I don't get how does a pit crew manage to put the left side tires on the right side and vice versa. I'm not exactly sure if it was all the tires they flip-flopped, but they did put the wrong tires on the wrong side when it came to Greg Biffle, which ultimately cost him, well, I'm going to say cost him the race. There was really no shot for Greg Biffle to win. But did cause him to lose a tire, and it did cause him to tear the back half of his car. And when they broke it down, they figured out that they put the wrong tire. And I want to say they put the left tire on the right. It seemed like it was the right side that was all shredded up when they showed the replay, and you could see it from the outside. What it seems like it was. I would like to know what idiot that was. Now, if you want to question anything about Sunday, that's what needs to be questioned. Not how do people watch this sport and why is it only the last lap or the last so many miles? And don't get me wrong, that last lap, that last 2.5, 3 miles, that was some racing. To watch Denny Hamlin go from fourth to splitting 2 cars coming around the final turn to beat the door with what was at the time second place when he was coming through, splitting second and first to put Denny Hamlin in first, then put Mark Truex back in first. And as they went back and forth until the last couple of feet, then Denny Hamlin, by just a few inches, was able to edge out Martin Truex. That was some serious fun to watch. Xfinity Series wasn't no worse. You watch Joey Logano beat the corner panel off of Chase Elliott coming around to the checker flag, and watching Chase Elliott have to hold on to that car because one slight move with him with Joey Logano hitting the rear quarter panel that could have shot Chase Elliott to the right straight into the wall. I mean, that's the severity of what could have happened. And then to watch Chris Bell walk away from the truck that flipped 8.5 times. Not 13 times like whoever in the studio. Oh, it flipped 13 times. Yes, 13 times. I didn't watch it 3 times because I thought I couldn't count. I need, honestly, to send into NBC Sports, Fox Sports, whoever, FS1, whoever broadcasts. I need to send them a taped airing of Sesame Street so they could sit down with count and they can learn how to count because it was nowhere close to 13 flips. But we're glad to see Chris Bell be able to walk away from that, few minor bruises and whatnot. But very, very good job. Very, very good job. That truck was able to hold up and very impressed. But Johnny Sauter went in that race and it went crazy. Trucks were wrecking everywhere. And got to see a few things and was glad to be able to see it. I know we've had, we talked to BJ McLeod of McLeod Racing. We was talking about the truck caution clock and our concerns with that and waiting to, and I would love to get his say, and I'll probably tweet him later on tonight or tomorrow. I didn't even think about it. Or I might even Facebook him. But we got an opportunity to see this new caution clock, and it only played into effect once. And ironically enough, the caution clock ended up causing the caution. Ironically enough, and for those that missed it, as the clock was winding down, you're watching these trucks at 180, 190 miles an hour trying to slow down to 55 miles an hour and get down to pit road. And the first group that came down, they did great. Made it no problem. As it came around with about 30, I want to say it was less than 30 seconds left, when they came back around, a bunch more of the drivers tried to come down pit road so they could be on pit lane when the caution came out. That way that they kind of got over and would be able to get their position back or get better position, because everybody else that didn't pit still had to pit under caution. And these guys have already pitted, so they're good to go. Well, in doing so, the second group didn't do it so good, and a couple people got ran over, which causes the wreck and then causes the caution to come out. So, I mean, the caution still came out at about the exact same time it was going to, but it cost a couple cars or a couple trucks an opportunity to win, and it essentially ended up causing the caution that the caution was supposed to stop it and put out a caution without there being a wreck. But it was interesting. It was fun. It kind of gave you something else to look forward to during the truck race, because the truck race was the same as the Xfinity Series and the Sprint Cup Series. First handful, 25, 30 laps, figuring out your vehicle, getting your strategy, working on it, and everything else. Then you had that long run, single file run, not a lot of action going on before it all got all haywire and grouped up. But the difference with the truck series now every 20 minutes, you're guaranteed a caution, at least every 20 minutes. Either there's going to be a wreck or a debris, another caution, or NASCAR's going to throw a caution at the 20-minute mark. So either way, every 20 minutes, at least there's going to be a caution. And so now, as a viewer, now you're watching one more thing on the TV. Now you're watching the clock and seeing, and now you get to watch the strategy play into it. It was very interesting. Am I a fan of it? As a fan, Yes, I think I could continue to watch this. As a driver, I still don't know if I'm a fan of it because not only one, as we saw, the caution caused the caution, but two, I wait for that time because they turn it off with 20 laps to go. So say 25 laps to go in the race, you are out front, you are out 2.5 second lead, no more pit stops got to be made. Really not that much traffic to deal with, even if there's still traffic. You have the fastest car going on, and let's say time runs out with 22 laps to go, and now is a caution. Now, let's say that this is a track that tires are everything, and so you have to come in because everybody else is coming in. Let's say a lug gun gets jammed, or a jack falls, or something where you catch some kind of penalty. If you're speeding over the wall too quick, whatever, running over an air hose, or let's say if you get back out there and something happens in the restart, the third place guy rear ends you and sends you sideways, or the outside guy comes down and cuts you off and wrecks you, whatever the case be. That scenario, I'm waiting for that scenario to play out. I'm waiting for it to be in that last 25, 30 laps, a truck that has dominated the race. The caution clock comes into effect and ends up costing the driver that has dominated and was out by a good couple second lead, end up losing the race because of that caution clock. I am waiting for that. Then I want to see what my opinion's like at that point in time. But also I want to know how the driver and now that team feels about the caution clock. Right now, outside of that whole, those that got caught up in the wreck of trying to pit, and of course, that really is only a big issue on the super speedways and some of the bigger tracks. It's not something that's necessarily going to be an issue. Say we go to Darlington, well, maybe not in Darlington, but maybe Martinsville or some of the smaller tracks, and you're not trying to go from 180, 109 miles an hour down to 55, and you're kind of in the way of those coming off the turn. So we're not going to necessarily get that every track when it comes to that. But I am curious to know how much of that's going to change people's minds when we come into that ends up becoming a factor. I think that will definitely play into how some people's opinions will be when it comes to this caution clock. But I tell you what, I think I was on the edge of my seat all weekend long. I definitely love having the opportunity to sit down. I'm not going to get too many more weekends of those coming up, unless I figure out where I'm going to catch all these races. But I was glad that this weekend, at least out of all weekends, I had the opportunity to sit down and watch all three series. And years prior, I didn't necessarily get to catch them all due to work. And if I was home, I would watch them, but I didn't have a DVR at the time, and before this last year, I didn't have cable. So it was kind of hit and miss. And then this last year was having cable and being more involved with watching the K&N Pro Series and the ARCA Series, and now this last month having the DVR so I can watch the Truck Series and watch the Xfinity Series. It's been, a really cool thing to be able to do. And, I was glad that I had the opportunity to kind of be able to sit down there and not only watch these guys and ladies, but I think the biggest thing that I took away from, especially Friday night, and this kind of goes into Austin coming on our show, and I see him in the studio, and I'm getting ready to get you in here, Austin. Knowing there was, I want to say 6, if I remember correctly, somewhere. I want to say 6 or I want to say 6. 6 teenage drivers in the Truck Series race on that Friday night. That right there tells me where this sport is going. That right there tells me that the Try for Diversity program, the K&N Pro Series, the ARCA Series, the Legend cars, the super late models, all these different programs, they're doing their job. When you have these organizations and programs such as Rev Racing that Austin drives for, we're going to talk about that here in a second, they're shaping and forming these young, talented drivers. Therefore, a good period of time one, all the drivers and rookies, I want to say the rookies of the year from like 2007 to something like 2012 or 13, no longer even race. When we see these programs, and now we get to see such young, talented drivers in the truck series, and some of them running in both series, but then getting to see that some of them already jumping up into the Xfinity series, and then we see drivers like Kyle Larson and Austin Dillon and Chase Elliott that are now the presence of NASCAR. Like I said, there was a point in time that there was a lot of concern. Who was going to carry the banner? Gordon's gone. Smoke's getting ready to be gone. Ain't going to be too much longer before Dale Jr.'s washed up and passed it. Well, what would we say? He's not too long before we retire. I can't use the word washed up. You got to be more than what he's accomplished to be washed up because anyway, we all know how I feel about Dale. Give me a point in time that Jimmy Johnson's gone. I mean, all these guys are starting to get up there in age. And so that, to me, was probably the biggest thing I took away from the Friday night race, is the fact that all these different series, all these different programs are now putting NASCAR's future in a very bright spot. Because now we know that there is no doubt that we are not going to be short talent come here in the future, if it be in the Truck Series race, the Xfinity Series race, or the Sprint Cup Series race. And that's the biggest thing that caught my eye when I was sitting there watching that Truck Series race. But anyway, that's not what they come on and call it into the show to listen to or talk about, or listen to me talk about. We got a bright, talented young driver, 13 years old, getting ready to turn 14 years old, and not even getting ready. He's still got months to go. The youngest driver in the Rev Racing program. Very excited about having the opportunity to talk to this driver. Another one of those bright young drivers that we can look forward to being the future of NASCAR, and one of those programs and those teams, such as Rev Racing, that has helped develop and shaping and forming the future of NASCAR. Without any further delay, let's go ahead and get young Austin on here. How are you doing tonight, Austin?
Oh, I'm doing good. How about you?
I am doing good. You know what? I sit there and say that the fact that you're 13 years old and getting ready to, well, I can't even say really getting ready to turn 14, but coming up on 14 years old and saying that, yes, it sounds like you're young, but it wasn't until I just heard your voice to realize how young you really are. It kind of caught me off guard, to be honest. I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, but I tell you what, I can't wait to learn and get to hear about your path and how you got to where you're at and being part of such a great program. Before we do that tonight, though, I want to give you an opportunity, like I do all the other drivers, and other athletes and guests we have come on the show. I want to give you an opportunity to plug yourself. So what I would like you to do is anything you want to put out there social media-wise, such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you use and whatever you would like to share, team site, your site, sponsors, anything you want to throw out there. That way the listeners get to know you, Austin, as a driver, a person, and not only now in the present, but be able to follow you throughout the 2016 season and moving forward in your career.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. On Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, my username is Austin Geer 4. I also drive the number 04 car, and I'm sponsored by Rev Racing, and I race in Charlotte Motor Speedway and Atlanta Motor Speedway. Also, my parents, my grandma, and aunties help me out a lot, and those are my sponsors.
That's cool. That's cool. Austin, I gotta know, what got you into racing?
Oh, well, my father, he used to race Porsche Cup cars when he was a little bit younger, and it just seemed so cool to me. So I thought, oh, wow, I guess I should do this. And a guy named Sam Bell Nevis, my dad met, he was like, you should put your son in the Bandolero car series and the quarter midget series. And my dad asked me about it if I wanted to, and I immediately wanted to. So that's kind of how it all started.
Now, how old was you when you started racing?
Oh, I was 5 years old.
You was 5 years old? And you know, I tell this story, and I know you've probably never heard this story, so I want to tell you because it really impresses me that at such a young age that you're doing, you know, you started doing what you was doing. You know, I have a 17-year-old daughter who's, you know, 4-point whatever GPA. She's an honor student, AP classes. As a matter of fact, she's already got a quarter of her college done, a quarter of her first semester of her first semester almost done, and she's still in high school. I have a 9-year-old, is maybe not as gifted when it comes to the books, but he's pretty smart. And then I live with a girl that has a 4 and a 5-year-old, and I tell all their mothers the same thing. I could bet if I had each of these kids run from one end of the house to the other end of the house, that 9 out of 10 times they would trip on something or run into something. And it's not an insult to none of the kids that I'm involved with. Those are what typical 5-year-olds, and, well, unfortunately, my 17-year-old will still trip or run into something. She's paranoid that when she graduates one or both times, because she's got to graduate from high school and her first semester of college, she's paranoid she's going to trip on stage. But it's more of a compliment to you for the skills that you have, because there's not too many 5-year-olds out there that are coordinated enough to be able to go out there and race at such a young age. What did you start off with? Did you start off in the go-kart?
I started out in a series called Quarter Midgets down in Cumming, Georgia.
Mm-hmm. And what was it? Well, first of all, how exciting was that for you to be a 5-year-old and be as young as you were and be out there racing? Not a lot of 5-year-olds get to do that. There's not a lot of 10 or 12-year-olds. You know, there's a lot of drivers that started well past that. How cool was that for you to be able to go to school and talk about, hey, I went racing last weekend, and them ask, oh, you went to a race? No, I went racing. I was driving. How cool was that for you to be able to kind of brag about that at such a young age?
Oh, well, it definitely was a really cool experience. Actually, the first time I got in a car, I went around the first corner and wrecked straight into the wall. So my dad, my mom was screaming, and it wasn't that great at first because I was really scared, and I thought it wasn't safe. But eventually I got used to it, and I bragged about it to my friends all the time, and yeah.
And even at a young age, talking about safety, as we see, like we watched Chris Bell at the Truck Series race, flip 8.5 times and walk away from the sport. And I'm glad you mentioned that, especially being at such a young age and be able to comprehend the safety. Was you surprised how safe you was in the car, and do you feel safe at all times when you're out there?
Oh yes, now I do. Like, I'm not scared at all. It's like with the Hans device and all that, it's just really safe. And at first I'm like, Dad, buckle me in tighter. And like now I'm like, okay, I can do it. I'm fine. But like, you still have to like check the belts and stuff, because you can go flying out one of these things if you're not careful.
Now, how long did it take you to kind of feel comfortable and be confident in the car? I can only imagine at 5 years old being nervous for a while and, you know, kind of being uncertain because it's all new to you and you're so young, and your brain can only, can only take so much in at a time. So, I mean, how long of a process was it for you before you really caught on to what you need to be doing and be able to improve your skills on the track?
Probably took about like one season in, because we raced a ton, like almost all the days of the year. We'd go to that track and we'd practice, and I'd be like, oh, not really, do we have to today, Dad? And eventually I got used to it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is starting to get fun. And I saw like my friends at the racetrack, they were having such a good time, like winning trophies and stuff. And plus, the trophies were ginormous. Like, they were super big. And I was like, oh, I want one of those. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine. I don't have to worry about this. and eventually I started winning.
Have you gotten you one of those ginormous trophies yet?
Oh yes, I have about 3 from the big ceremonies, and they're
now. Was it hard to not want to go play with your friends and do the stuff that the rest of the kids would do on a normal basis? Was it hard for you to there at first to practice and learn this, or how hard was it? Obviously you didn't want to at first, and you learned why you needed to do it. So how much did mom and dad have to play into making sure that you were doing what you needed to do in racing before you got to go play basketball or go play tag or whatever you did at a young age?
Oh, well, at first I was like, do I have to go, And then eventually I was like, oh, okay, we're going to the track, okay. And it was like close by and all, so it wasn't a problem or anything. Yeah. It was sometimes hard though, because on the weekends I would want to play with my friends, and it was like, no, we have to go to the track, and I'm like, oh my gosh, again. But it eventually got a lot more fun, because you start getting those top 5s. You're like, oh yes, this is fun.
Now, moving forward, fast forward for a second to where you're at now, 13, almost 14 years old. How hard is it now? Because back then you were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Okay, the only thing you're missing is catching lightning bugs or playing tag or playing football or whatever in the neighborhood. Now you're a teenager. Now the girls are a little bit more of a factor, and now going to the Friday night high school games are more of a factor, and hanging out at friends' houses and all that stuff, going to the movies. Now you got a little bit of the teenage stuff that you, in the back of your mind, are probably wanting to experience, or at least get to experience some of it. So now moving forward to current day, how difficult is it for you to stay focused, or is your career that's it? That's the only thing you're focused on. Everything else is on the back burner.
Well, I'm really focused on my career because, it's mixed because all my friends, they go out on Saturdays, and I have to race sometimes on Saturdays. And I'm like, oh, really? You guys are doing that? And, they brag about it to me, and I'm like, oh, okay. All right. And they just keep on telling me, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I got a race today, and then, it kind of all goes away because it's like, wait, I forgot you raced a car. And they just find that so cool. So it's not really bad or anything, but then again, it's like, oh, I wish I could be with them, but then again, it's like, oh, well, when I get older, I'll be having the time of my life every single week on the racetrack.
There you go. Do your friends get to come out and see you at the track?
Oh, yes. Well, all the time with my family. But my friends, they can, but they don't really do it a lot. Every now and then, though. And my cousins, a lot of the time,
Now, what all different type of cars have you raced?
Oh, well, I've raced quarter midgets, bandoleros, and legend cars. Or I just started in the legend car. But those are the 3 that I've raced. And then I raced in, the Grands, which was in Alabama, around that area. And then North Carolina, Atlanta. And for the Combine, I went up to Langley, Virginia. So.
One of the different type of cars that you've had an opportunity to race in, which one was the easiest? Which one did you, when you got into it, it was the easiest for you to drive? It wasn't hard. It just felt like that was the car you were supposed to be in. Out of all the cars you've been in so far, which one was the easiest for you?
The legend car for sure. Because the Bandolero was it was all slick and stuff. And these legend cars, they have front brakes now. And I've been on the iRacer for a while practicing, and I basically had the gears down, and the front brakes help out so much, so it made it that much easier. And the Bandolero only has back, so the back end would always be sliding out, and it'd be loose, and it was a struggle at first, but the power, when you first got in, oh my gosh, the power.
Now, What's it like for you to be the youngest member over at Rev Racing? Is it like a bunch of big brothers to you? Do they are you the little brother everybody gets to pick on because you guys are a team? What's it like to be the youngest driver over there?
Oh, well, it's not bad. I mean, we all have a good time, and we all have one goal to win, do good as a team. No one really picks on me because I'm like the youngest, but we all have a good time at the end of it.
Do most of them act like big brothers and sisters to you and try to help you and give advice? Since a lot of them have, the experience they have and it's a little bit older. That's cool. That's
yes,
definitely.
They try to help and give me like technique and all that stuff, like to track out more over here and turn in early or later in certain spots.
Now, I've seen that you got to run in the legend car once back in December for Charlotte, and then you've been in the off season preparing for it. What all have you been doing to get yourself prepared for this season with the legend cars?
Oh, I've been doing a lot of iRacer lately, and I've been practicing on the Charlotte. Excuse me. I've been practicing a lot on the Charlotte Motor Speedway track and the Atlanta Motor Speedway track.
Now, was you a NASCAR fan growing up, or was you just more of a fan of racing, or maybe the series that your father with the Porsche, or was you a NASCAR fan growing up?
Well, growing up, it was all about road course because my dad and all his friends were like, road course. And we watched those races, so I'm like, oh, I want to drive a road course car. But my dad's friend, Sam Bell Nevis, he told him to do this series because it'll really help your son out, and I think he'd be better at it. So I was like, oh, okay, all right. Because I really just, all I wanted to do was get in a car,
I wish I said I know. I don't know. At your age, I think I would be terrified. I'm one that, my first car, and it's a little bit of my age, my first car was a beater car, but it was a 75 Color Supreme. And mind you, I was born in 78 while you're born in 2002, so there's a big gap there. And I would used to get on I-70 when I lived in Ohio, and it was nothing for me to get to 100, 110 miles an hour headed home. There was hardly any cops in that section of the interstate. But that was enough for me. So I couldn't imagine wanting to be a race car driver. As great as it would be to sit in the car and see what it's like to go 200 miles an hour, I don't know if I'd actually want to get in the car and do 200 miles an hour. I don't know. I think I would probably be terrified. So I think you probably got more nerves than I got. I want to take a second real quick and kind of jump away from the racing career for a second and let the fans get to know you a little bit better. Say in the middle of the week, you have nothing going on, maybe spring break, so there's no school, or summer break, there's no school, and say you guys have an off week, and so you're not really got to worry about preparing anything. What do you do in, like, the middle of the week to kind of clear your mind, kind of get a rest, kind of reset yourself before you start preparing yourself for the next weekend?
Oh, well, I like whenever I'm not racing or doing the iRacer, I really enjoy basketball. In fact, I just came from a game. I also enjoy video games and going outside and, like, riding mountain bikes. Also, playing football, but I don't do that a lot because it's pretty dangerous if you ask me. But
This is coming from someone that's a race car driver, and you're talking about it being dangerous to play football. When it comes to video games, outside of the iRacing, of course, do you have racing games? Do you play them, or is that one of those things that you get enough racing in your life with the iRacing and real life racing that you stay away from the racing games?
Oh, actually, I enjoy like those type of games, like GTA and Forza and stuff. There's plenty of racing on those games, and I still like them.
Most definitely cool. During the week, are you the type of racer that likes to get his hands dirty, and do you help with the car and help work on the car and try to get knowledgeable on different things of the car, or have you not gotten to that age that you're that interested in it? Well, when it comes to the car, how involved are you?
Well, I was interested at a young age to mess with the car and stuff, but my dad's like, "Get away! You could get hurt. You could get hurt." And as I started to get older, I'm like, "Okay, can I do it now?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want you messing up anything." And eventually, he started letting me clean the car. So that's a step.
Yeah.
But
now, did you when you joined Rev Racing? Did you move up to North Carolina as well, or are you still down in Georgia?
Oh, I'm still down in Georgia, sir.
Still down in Georgia. And the tracks, you said you've been to Atlanta, you've been to Charlotte, and what other tracks you been?
Oh, I went to Nashville, Tennessee, and what was it? Oh, well, yeah, I went down to Nashville, Tennessee, Huntsville, that area for quarter midget racing in the Grands, Langley Motor Speedway for the Combine. That's a fun track. It's really fast for the bandos. Concord Speedway.
Now, of all the tracks that you've competed at, which one has been your favorite track?
I'd have to say probably Concord. That track's really fun, and that's like my first track with banking on it, so that was like a whole nother experience. But my second's probably Charlotte because that track's like flat, and I'm good at flat tracks, and it seems pretty fast. So, yeah.
Now, have you had an opportunity throughout your career at this point to do a road course? I know that you had a big interest in it, so have you had a chance to race on a road course yet?
You broke up there. Can you say that again?
Yeah, I know you said you liked road courses, you like watching it, and that's what made you, one of the things you liked about watching racing and got you, interested. Have you had a chance to race on a road course yet?
No, I haven't, but I've looked on YouTube and stuff that the legend cars can race on road course, so I'm like, Dad, sign me up for that. And actually, I have gotten to technically ride on a road course, but it wasn't like a legitimate one. It was Atlanta Motor Speedway. It was actually my second Bandolero race. My first Bandolero race was at Gresham too, around that area, and we just went around that track, and it was a blast.
Now, the Combine, how nervous was you going to the Combine? Was this the first, when you went to the Combine the last time at Langley, was that the first time you went?
When I went to Langley, it was the first time, but I went 2 times over there.
And how nervous was you, and what was the competition like to win a spot?
I thought it was really cool because I'm like, whoa, this is like a NASCAR team, and I saw all the competitors, and I'm like, okay, well, let's go have a good time. I wasn't thinking about it like that at that age, like 10 years old, 11 years old. I was like, okay, whatever. But I just went out there and I did the line that my dad preached into me, and I did it perfectly, and eventually got the good lap time. All he said was to hold the wheel super tight and turn and go in the middle of the track.
With you being the age you are, obviously school is still a big part of your life. Or do you go to a traditional school, or are you homeschool? Or homeschool, I mean.
Oh, I go to a public school. Yes, sir.
Homeschool. So that's and has it been difficult keeping up with the schoolwork and keeping your grades up, or the teachers working with you, or how's that going for you?
Well, it's been going well so far. We just when I have to go out and race, on Fridays when I had to go to North Carolina to race, we had trouble getting the work and all that stuff because at the public school I go to, they give out a lot of work, so I had to get like a ton of work together, and it was all due like in one day. So it usually goes pretty well. I keep up with my work, but whenever I have races, it can kind of mess it up. But then again, that happens when I'm sick too. So I learned to get used to it.
Now, 2016 is it, you've ran the Legend car once, so your next race. As a matter of fact, when is the first race for you this year?
It should be pretty close. My dad said he'd try to get me down at Concord or Charlotte Motor Speedway pretty soon. We don't quite know yet, though. We don't have like a schedule or anything. He hasn't checked.
Gotcha. Now
we might do an
got
Atlanta race too.
You got the first race back in December, and I believe I saw a top 10 finish. 2016. What is your goal for 2016? What would you like to accomplish in the Legend Series in this year?
I'd like to get a top 5 finish because we've been like the whole team has been like struggling with like the Legend Car Series, and I really just wanted to get a top 5 in that class, and eventually work up my way to an average of top 5s.
That's cool. I like that. And most people, the first answer, which everybody's answer, is obviously to win and win championship. But I always like to know outside of the two obvious answers, and I like that. To hear someone that knows that obviously the first goal is to win, but to focus on the steps getting there and having consistent finishes, and that's really good. And I know that program really appreciates having drivers that want to help improve the different series and different cars in their program. And, I can imagine how much of an asset you are to Rev Racing and their Legend car program. Ultimate goal, are you want to be a sprint cup driver, or what is the ultimate goal for you? Where do you see yourself going?
You just said it. I want to be a NASCAR sprint cup driver. That's the ultimate goal. A black guy or a black male hasn't made it there yet. Well, did Windows come on?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to get there. It's really important to me.
And that's really cool. And all the steps that it's taking you guys to get there, and the odds that you had to come against, and just your background, and you wanting to help build this sport. It's been so long, and it's taken so long for this sport to be so open to all nationalities and all sects and everything else. And it's really good that we have these programs such as Drive for Diversity and everything else. Now that it's opening the sport up, and I talked a little bit about this last week. It's really a shame that it's taken this long, and just think of all the talent that we didn't get to see because it was something that wasn't once upon a time accepted, or it was just not common. Now, because of all the barriers that have been broke down, and now because of all the programs that makes it possible for everybody to have an opportunity, now we're starting to get to see all the talent that we were getting to see before, and it's really cool. It is really cool to be able to meet young adults. You're out there racing a race car. I know you're 13 years old, but you're out there racing a race car. It makes you a young adult in a lot of people's eyes. But especially how you conduct yourself. There's not too many 13-year-olds I've had the opportunity to sit and have a conversation with and be well mannered and be as professional as you've been on this as well. So I definitely I see a lot of positive things. Just by sitting here talking to you, because a lot of 13-year-olds, this is not how they are. I know, because I've raised kids and I'm around a lot of kids, so it's definitely been a very pleasant surprise to see not only a young talented driver coming through the system, but someone that has been raised right and has the manners and has the right upbringing. It is really cool. Austin, I want to wish you the best of luck on your 2016 season and moving forward. We'll definitely be keeping an eye out with you. We got a great relationship with Rev Racing, and they definitely keep us informed and up to date with things going on over there, and keep us up with the drivers and press releases and all that stuff. So I definitely skim my email 100 times a day, just looking for new stuff coming through. So I'll definitely be looking for your name and looking to see how you're doing, and definitely looking forward to the future for you and see how your career progresses. Like I said, best luck on 2016. Looking forward to hopefully having you back on the show sometime later in the season to see how the season's going. And I'm going to let you go because I already know it's getting late and you got school and everything else. So I don't want to keep you, but good luck on the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll have you back on the show real soon.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night, sir.
You too. Thank you. That was Austin Geer of Rev Racing. He races the Legend cars. I tell you what, that's a breath of fresh air. You don't, like I said, you don't get that every day. I mean, I unfortunately, well, I'm not gonna say unfortunately, because believe it or not, it's the weirdest thing. Well, my first job, I didn't talk to nobody for 2 weeks. For the longest time, I could not stand people. I bounced for 10, 12 years. The last thing I wanted to do was to be around anybody, but I tell you what, for some reason, I am the most people person, and now I'm a manager at Circle K. I got 30 seconds to a minute, most people to persuade you to be my customer, and especially in a town that is a town, not even a city, it's a town. It ain't much even really a town, and there's about 6 other Circle Ks in town, not to mention the Murphys and the other competitors, the Marathons and the Shells and everything else. So, I have to swoo and put on the best possible customer service I could possibly put on, and which I do an excellent job at. We once upon a time was the second slowest of all the Circle Ks in town, and we're slowly but surely getting out of that. And every month, every period, our sales are above what we're budgeted. And it used to be the kind of company that went against last year's numbers, and that's all you was expected to be. Then when Circle K took over, now they have what they want you to do. It has nothing to do with last year's numbers. So you're constantly going against numbers you've not even done before, let alone now you're doing this year. So we do a great job. So I have great, excellent customers. I have people come in to get gas, and they'll spend 30 minutes in there. We'll talk sports, of course. But, and the boss lady, she rolls her eyes every time because she knows as soon as you come in, I'm talking your office sports. And, like I said, there's people come in here, we'll talk 30 minutes. And that's what they come up, they'll get gas while they're there, they'll get a coffee, but that's what they come up here to do is talk sports. And, unfortunately at the same time, I get to see a lot of teenage kids, and I get to see a lot of preteen kids, and I get to see a lot of, you don't get that every day. You don't get the yes, sir, no, ma'am, please, thank you, and listen to, him talk and how he conducts himself. It's really a breath of fresh air. Even in the racing world, you have drivers come on, or you meet drivers at the track, and they just have this cocky attitude. I'm a race car driver. I'm 13 years old, and that. It was a breath of fresh air to have a young any 13-year-old period that's got their head focused and knows what they want and is out there making it happen. But to see a race car driver that is not taking what he has for granted and is appreciating what he's got and dedicated to what he's got, it's just really cool. And it even shows him talking about the off season, and he's out there running the car and in the iRacing and everything else, trying to improve his skills. It's just a really cool and a fresh breath there. Don't forget, you can check out the 110 Nation Sports Show every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. right here. Yes, Thursday's always a special show for us. We kind of combine that in the Racing with Big Sweat. Makes his return tomorrow night. He's got great guests lined up throughout the whole show. I will be in the studio with them. Kicks off at 9 o'clock. We also got Happy Hour Garage Sunday night, 7 p.m., Dirt Talk Hour, 9 p.m. Sunday nights, and then we got Rubbing His Racing Monday nights at 7 p.m. Here in the next couple weeks, next 2 weeks, is I will be moving out of my location probably next week, so the following week, where I am located in my new place, my new residency in the studio will be relocated. One will be unrolling the 110 Nation Morning Show back out, and I will be adding 1 or 2 more shows throughout the week that I will personally be doing because I'm about to have a bunch of free time, and so I'm going to be focused on adding a show or 2 and get back into working on more of the blog site. But guys, make sure you check that out. Also, you can check me out on Twitter at CJSports1. You can check out the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Also, check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. Check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. One more bit of racing talk before I jump into other sports is something that I had to reconfirm earlier today. I just couldn't believe it. And I honestly thought here for a minute that Miami was going to beat the Golden State Warriors. They were up with 1.5 minutes left, but now it's flipped to the other side, and Golden State is up by 4 points over Miami, 114 to 110 with 14 seconds left in Miami. So it looks like they're going to hold on to go 51-5. But I had to confirm. Chris, Yellow Caution Flag Creighton, posted it early today, asked the question. He is one of the co-hosts of the Dirt Talk Hour. Stewart-Haas Racing is in 2017 going to be a Ford team, no longer a Chevy team. And I think it's rather ironic because I can remember the outcry that Tony Stewart had when he found out that he was going to be driving a Toyota and no longer the Chevy. I think it was a Chevy at the time. I know it was upon a time in a Pontiac, but I can't remember if they went from Pontiac to Toyota or went to Pontiac, Chevy, then Toyota. It seems like that's what they did. But to know that, he was an outcry for then, like I said, it was Chevy. Yeah, I know it was then Chevy. And then when he started Stewart-Haas, he went back to Chevy. So I thought it was rather funny, first of all, that the man that was upset that they were leaving Chevy to go to Toyota when he was at Joe Gibbs Racing is now taking Stewart-Haas Racing from Chevy to Ford. I'm also surprised because of the program. Toyota last year champion. The prior year was a Chevy. I want to say that it's either been Chevy or Toyota for the last. I don't even know the last time. I take that back. Brett Keselowski, whenever he won a championship in Ford. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if he was in Ford. I think he actually won that in a Dodge, if I'm not even mistaken. I don't know. To me, the Ford program has not been up to date. When was the last time, other than the Penske team, what other Fords out there have been dominant? And the Chevy program with Hendrick Motorsports, Stewart-Haas Racing. All the other Chevy programs, Chevy's kind of been the front runner. So it was kind of an odd thing to me. And like I said, I had to reconfirm when I saw that because I was like, in a statement from Hendrick Motorsports, and this is Hendrick talking about Stewart-Haas, and they're not leaving. It's a statement from Hendrick Motorsports team owner Rick Hendrick reaffirmed his loyalty to Chevrolet in the wake of Stewart-Haas Racing departure to Ford in 2017. Hendrick also confirmed that Hendrick Motorsports' technical relationship with Haas Automation will continue beyond 2016. Hendrick Motorsports entered its 33rd NASCAR season carrying the Chevrolet bow tie and blah, blah, blah. But I think, honestly, it caught a lot of people by surprise that it wasn't in the loop or didn't already know because it was one of those things, like I said, that Tony Stewart, he seemed like he was pretty loyal to the Chevrolet, the Chevrolet manufacturer, I guess the word I'm looking for. I can't have a bow tie. And I'm glad that I just seen this because I was curious what swayed Tony Stewart to switch. Tony Stewart explains reasoning behind manufacturer switch. In 7 full seasons of existence, Stewart-Haas Racing has won 2 championships, placed at least one driver in each chase each year, and established itself easily as NASCAR's top 2 or 3 organizations. So with all the pieces in place for a promising future, what led to Wednesday's morning bombshell announcement that Stewart-Haas Racing would sever ties with Chevrolet as seasons in to make the switch to Ford in 2017. As a part of a new arrangement, Stewart-Haas Racing will also end its long-standing technical alliance with Hendrick Motorsports, which, like I said, that all drives me. It makes, and I'm hoping some of this makes sense as I continue with this because why would you cut ties with one of the other top 3 programs out there? Not only are you a top program, but you get your products, your engines, your chassis, and everything from, if not the best, probably top 2 teams in all of NASCAR. You have the perfect alliance, and so that really baffles me. As a part of the arrangement, new arrangement, blah blah blah, which has supplied engines and chassis to Stewart-Haas Racing since even before 2009. The year Haas CNC Racing became Stewart-Haas Racing, and Tony Stewart joined the team founder Gene Haas as co-owner. Beginning next season, Stewart-Haas Racing will build its own chassis and use 4 power prepared by Robert Yates engines. Stewart, speaking on a teleconference a couple hours after Wednesday's formal announcement of the manufacturer's switch, explained that the impetus for the blockbuster move, which will add drivers Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, Danica Patrick, and Clint Boyer to the Ford roster of drivers next year. Stewart, who is currently sidelined indefinitely with a back injury, is retiring at the end of the 2016 season and will be replaced by Hoyer. The more we talk to the group of Ford, the more we realize that our passion and desire to win races and championships and their approach is very much in line with how we approach it at Stewart-Haas Racing. Which, okay, I hope the rest of this makes sense, because that is in line with the same thing that has gone on over at Chevrolet and Hendrick Motorsports. There wasn't anything in this deal that was a disappointment from the Chevy side. We weren't disappointed with what we were doing with Chevy, but we felt like when we got in conversations with the Ford group that it just really seemed like a partnership that made a lot of sense the further we went into it. The longer the conversations went, the more excited both sides were about making this a reality. Stewart, a 3-time champion in NASCAR's Top Series, has been a Chevrolet driver for all but one season of his lengthy Cup career, which began in 1999 at Joe Gibbs Racing, where he competed and won 2 titles before becoming driver-owner of Stewart-Haas Racing in 2009. Although Stewart himself won't get the opportunity to drive a Ford, he'll be the co-owner of a Ford organization, a fact that he acknowledges has already led some observers to question his manufacturer loyalty. It was a business decision, he said. It was the best for our company going forward. There's a little bit of tug of war with me because of my loyalty, but at the same time, I did not have any of those relationships when I came into this sport. I went through the same thing when Joe Gibbs Racing switched to Toyota. I was with Toyota for a year before I came over to Gene's organization, so I've kind of been down this road. I would be lying if I didn't say I've been on Twitter since 9 o'clock reading what everybody has been writing. I respect everybody's view on this, but this was a decision that was made because of the passion that I see with Ford and their commitment to Stewart-Haas Racing in the future. I understand there are people out there that's going to be upset about it, and I've read those comments that people are ecstatic about it. This is what we felt like was best, and as a business owner, you can't overlook great opportunities, and that's what this was. It was a great opportunity for our company. Capture the championship for Roush Fenway. Winning the fact that Ford hasn't won a Sprint Cup title since one of Stewart-Haas driver Cush, so Ford has not won a title in 12 years. So, yes, Penske was still Dodge at the time. That's where I don't get it. Because why leave Hendrick Motorsports? If you want to build your own chassis, build your own motors, go for it. But why lose the support of what has been working? Why slowly get to your point? I was under the impression that you formed this company and you were using the chassis and the engines from Hendrick Motorsport, honestly, until you got to a point that either you was doing it yourself or cut some of it out and did it yourself. I thought it was kind of training wheels, and eventually you would take off. But even so, even if you don't ever take those wheels off, you won 2 championships with the setup you got, the manufacturer and the connections and the ties. I don't understand why you fix something that is not broken. It then to go to Ford, and I'm not trying to take shots at Ford. I am not necessarily a Ford man myself, but that's here nor there. I'm not really necessarily a Toyota person, but I like Kyle Busch. I mean, making the car really doesn't make a difference to me, other than the fact facts are facts, and Ford has not won a championship since 2004. So how is this the best thing for Stewart-Haas Racing to win championships, to win races moving forward, knowing that it's been Chevrolet, Dodge, and Toyota that's won all the championships since 2004? So that kind of conflicts itself in my book. I don't care how good someone talks. Doesn't mean it's necessarily the right change. Hell, Obama was the best public speaker ever tried to walk the face of the earth. Doesn't mean it was a great change. It was a horrible change. But anyway, let's not get sidetracked. I'm a big fan of Stewart-Haas Racing. I was not a fan of Tony Stewart back in the Joe Gibbs Racing days once he got his own team and kind of unfiltered his thoughts and let them ramble. I learned to like him and respect him and enjoy his interviews. Kurt Busch, at times I like his attitude. It is fun to watch somebody with the attitude. Other times you just like, Kurt, why didn't you just shut up? Big Danica fan, big Kevin Harvick fan. I'm not gonna say necessarily a Clint Bowyer fan. I like Clint Bowyer as a person, and I think he's fun to listen to in interviews and just talk. Don't mean I cheer for Clint Bowyer. I've never been that type. I will continue to cheer for Danica and those guys. I just, to me, you're kind of taking a step backwards. I mean, where is your Roush Fenways? Where are your like I said, outside of Penske, which ain't won a championship since they became a Ford program, there's not really much to talk about. And so I think that's what really caught people by surprise, is knowing that this organization changed it's everything. Something that has worked multiple times this year, or multiple times throughout Stewart-Haas Racing existence. I mean, let's go through the top 10 of the Daytona 500. Joey Logano is your only Ford product out there. And we can surf through when we get to the next Ford. Eric Almirola at 12th, then Blaney and Keselowski in 1920. You have 4 out of 20 cars that were Ford. The other 16 were Chevy and Toyota. Where are most of your Fords? Past 20. That's where you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the last 20. That's where the Fords are. I hope they prove what I said wrong. Like Stewart-Haas is an excellent team. They got talented drivers. I'm just sorry, and I guess I feel more for the other 3 drivers. I don't necessarily feel so bad for Danica Patrick, and maybe not even so much for Clint Bowyer, but when you look at Kevin Harvick, who's getting up there in the years, and Kurt Busch, who's been around for a while and getting up in the years, those guys, are there to win championships. They're not there to help build this team to be the future and this, that, and the other. They're there to win championships. Now, they're not going to be there years down the road. And, I don't know what Danica's plan, how long she plans on racing, if she's getting closer to her mid-30s. And same with Clint Bowyer. But if I'm part of that organization, I'm looking at it as more of why now? Why, when I came to especially Clint Bowyer, when I came to this organization, this was a top-notch organization, Chevrolet, and especially with Clint Bowyer's connection with Chevrolet and Hendrick Motorsports. We wanted to come to this program not only for Tony Stewart and Stewart-Haas, but the connections that went with it and the possibilities. And now we're here, and now you're telling me that because Ford pitched us a sales pitch that, someday we're going to put a product out there good enough to win a championship, and you can help us put that product out there. But it might be another 10 years before we win a championship. I wonder how hard that was to convince the drivers, hey, this is good for the future, and this is good for us business owners. But you drivers, you guys are going to have to suffer through the garbage that Ford puts out there until they finally get it right. And after 12 years so far, they've not gotten it right. But maybe before you guys retire, they might get it right. We might have a Ford win a championship. I wonder how that conversation went. I can only imagine. Tell you what. Things that make you go, yes, those things. Number 5, Xavier takes down number 1 Villanova. Updates on the score. We got about 30 seconds left in the Chicago-Washington game. They are home in Chicago. Chicago's up 109-101. Like I said, about 7 seconds left in that game. Oklahoma in Dallas. Oklahoma's up 87-81. They're getting ready to kick off the 4th. Here in about 10 minutes, you got San Antonio in Sacramento, and then you got Denver in L.A. for the Clippers. Games that have gone final now. Indiana ends up winning at home over New York, 108-105. Cleveland holds off a late rally by Charlotte, 114-103. It was more of the subs versus the second and third strings at that point, as Cleveland had like a 20-point lead with a minute or so left. Golden State ends up coming back and beating Miami in Miami, 118-112. Detroit let Philadelphia back in the game a little bit. It was a 30-point game there in the third. It ended up being a 20-point game. Detroit wins at home, 111-91 over Philadelphia. Toronto at home over Minnesota, 114-109. And Memphis wins at home over the Lakers, 128-119. A lot of great NBA action tonight. And, tell you what, it's got to be tough to be number 1 when it comes to the NBA or the NCAA, because it seems like no matter what, the number 1 team keeps finding themselves in the losing ends of a lot of these games. And really, really surprised at how many times that carousel has spun around and the number 1 team has went down. So, oh, goodness, oh goodness. Steph Curry ties Mark with 127th straight game, ties Kyle Korver NBA record. Just over 1 minute into the Warriors' visit at American Airlines Arena to take on the Miami Heat, the reigning NBA MVP took a pass from fellow All-Star Draymond Green, calmly rose up 27 feet away and splashed through a triple. That too-easy ball marked the 127th game in a row in which Curry has hit from long distance, matching the record set by Atlanta Hawks sharpshooter Kyle Korver between November 2012 and March of 2014. Korver broke the record in 2013, surpassing former Philadelphia 76ers and Boston Celtics guard Dana Barrow's mark of 89 consecutive games between 94 and 96. He then connected from behind the arc 37 more games because there was a period of time where it seemed like basically every long shot Korver put up was cash as soon as it left his hand. I tell you what, wonder how long that streak will go. One, honestly, I guess I was expecting more. I mean, 127 games, that's only like a season and a half. And I say only a season and a half. And before that, 89 games was only a season and 2 games. But I guess as long as we've been talking about Steph Curry and his phenomenal three-point shooting, I guess, honestly, I was just expecting this streak to be much longer. I was expecting him to already be like 2 full seasons. This is letting me know not last season, but the season. No, as a matter of fact, the beginning of last season, he did not hit. He did not hit a 3-pointer, and I mean that's all we talked about last year. So to me, that's like wow, like. You mean to tell me there was a point of last year that he didn't make a 3-pointer in a game? If I was to take a guess at it, I would have guessed that he had I would have visualized at least 2 full seasons. I mean, to be 100% honest. So. To know that it's not even gone 2 full seasons, that kind of shocks me. But then that takes me to my next question: how long will he go before he does not hit a 3-pointer? Like to me, it's like almost feasibly impossible to sit there and think about Steph Curry not making a 3-pointer in a game. Like, I don't think I can fathom the thought of there not being a 3-pointer in a game by Steph Curry. And I wonder, it makes me sit there and wonder how long will this streak go? How long can he go without not hitting the 3? I could not visualize him not hitting one at least every game the rest of this season. I think very easily he could have 200 games easily. Like I honestly, this would be one of those records that I would be surprised when he's done this go round. I would be honestly shocked if this record is ever beaten. It's just one of those things that it takes a lot of talent. And I know there's a lot of people out there that does not like what Steph Curry does. It kind of takes away from the game, this, that, and the other. I'm not a Golden State fan. I respect Golden State, and I wish them the best of luck of trying to accomplish winning the games. They got to win 22 more games at this point to set the new record. I have a lot of respect for Steph Curry. But I would never say that what Steph Curry is doing is ruining this game or it's boring or anything else. What they do is absolutely positively phenomenal to watch. I know there was point in the time in the season, I even talked about it. I got bored with it. And it's not that it wasn't fun to watch. It just wasn't so much fun to watch them win by 30, 40 points. If they would have kept doing what they were doing, but the games were somewhat competitively close, I probably would have never missed the televised Golden State game. But it just got to the point that I'm not going to watch them bolster out to a 30 or 40-point lead and then end up winning by 15, 20, 25 points, and that's only because Steph Curry didn't play the whole fourth quarter, and Draymond Green didn't play a lot of the fourth quarter, or Klay Thompson didn't play a lot of the fourth quarter. You had a lot of bench players playing. I don't sit there and make a point to not only watch a team that beats the crap out of somebody, but then when it's even, the only reason it's close is because their backups are in. No, that's not nowhere close to why I sit there and watch the games I watch. And so, yeah, there for a while, it is what it is. If there's something else on I would rather watch, then that's what I would go watch. And, you know, I left it at that. But that doesn't mean that it is not fun to watch. Now, you get them against a competitive team that the game is competitively close. Even if the other team does not even lead, as long as it's competitively close. Like when Golden State beat Cleveland, not the time they beat them by 30 points, but the other time, the game was competitive. Last year in the NBA Finals, the games were competitively close. Those are fun to watch. Even though they beat my team, they were fun to watch. And watch the teamwork, watch the perfect pieces. And they'll be able to watch Steph Curry shoot from pretty much anywhere and be able to make it. That, to me, is fun to watch. I know there's people out there that disagree and don't like watching players that are watching, participate in games, and there's a lot worse things. There's the hack and shack. There's the flop. There's the shooters that jump into the defender to try to draw a foul in the most non-natural shooting form possible and still get away with it. There's a lot more things that are bad about this game and this sport than the whole 3-point and the fact that Steph Curry could shoot from just about anywhere. So if you're looking to pick something that you're not enjoying about I was reading over the comments as you have people kind of all over the place. Even though Channing Frye was 4 for 8, shot 50% from downtown, 4 of 8. Come on, and got 15 points in just 17 minutes, almost a point a minute that he was out there, and people are still talking about he ain't proved nothing. Some people are saying it, wow. The other ones are an asset and talking about how this bench just got incredibly better and is now more competitive for San Antonio and Golden State. So kind of mixed feelings and mixed emotions going on when it comes to the Channing Frye and the Cleveland Cavaliers. I like it. At first I wasn't sold on it with losing Anderson Varejao, and to me, you got rid of Jared Cunningham. That was kind of more the future of the team, and obviously you're all in to win it now. But I definitely like the pieces. Toronto back on their winning ways, 3-game win streak, inching ever so much closer to the Cleveland Cavaliers in that top spot. Now only being about 3 games behind the Cleveland Cavaliers for the top spot in the East. But Cleveland still holding on with a 41-15 record. Toronto 38-18, and then it takes you to Miami, who got your next spot, even with the loss tonight, 32-25. Other teams that are looking good out in the East, which is not really a lot since the All-Star break. Chicago on a 2-game win streak. They're starting to find some rhythm, even without Jimmy Butler, even without Noah, and losing Hendrick. But Bulls have been able to find a couple wins, took a couple hits on the chin, especially the Cleveland Cavaliers. Detroit, since their trades and coming back, they've won 2 straight, and Milwaukee's won a couple straight. Out in the West, of course, Golden State with their 3-game win streak, puts them at 51-5, obviously the top team. San Antonio still have not hit double-digit losses, as they're on their 2-game win streak, 47-49, looking as good as always. And then you got the Oklahoma City Thunder losing 2 straight. Look like they will bounce back tonight, and they're up by 17 points halfway through the fourth to give them a win and put them at 41-16. Portland, 6-game win streak, one of the hottest teams since the coming back from the All-Star break, going from 24-27 to 30-27, putting themselves in second place in the Western the Western Conference, or the Western Division. The Northwest Division, and then putting themselves about 5th or 6th in the Western Conference, starting to slide on up. Clippers kind of all over the place right now, 7-3 in their last 10, winning their last game, but 37-19. Memphis with a win tonight puts them at 32-23. Winning over the Lakers. They've been a pretty stout team. I don't know, they kind of been all over the place. It looks like they're starting to find themselves. And it's not really they've been all over the place. Their wins have been all over their wins and losses have been all over the place. It's one thing to have a team win a bunch of games. Okay, you lose a couple, but when they lose bad. It's not even. As a matter of fact, their point differential, they're actually -1. For them to have won almost 10 games more than they've lost, their point differential should be there. That it should not be that bad. They should be on the positive. They should be outscoring more opponents than they've lost. And that tells you how lopsided the losses have been. They've won 32 games. They've won 9 more games than they've lost, but those losses have been just like, wow, like Memphis, what happened? And that just shows it. I mean, 10 teams that are 10 games in the hole at this point. And I'm trying to find someone else that's really competitively close, which nobody's even really in the same ballpark figure. I mean, Dallas is 30-27, and they have only got a .4 minus differential. Houston, they're no team that's been lopsided though. They're 28-29, but they have a negative 1.4. Same thing with Sacramento. They kind of lopsided. Only 7. Well, see, they got a 7 loss, and see that's my whole thing. You're 9 games above 500. Houston is a minus game in the hole to the 500, and still only got a 1.4. You're 9 games above. As a matter of fact, I was looking at it backwards. I need to find teams that are 9 above. Clippers are 8 above. No, they're 18 above. They're fine. Well, my math way off today. Portland, only 3 games above, and you're still 1.3 to the good. Atlanta, 4 games above 500, and you're 2.2. Indiana, only 5 games above 2.1. Hell, even Detroit is almost 1 point above, and they're at 500. So that's what kills me about the Memphis Grizzlies. It's not their record, 32-23. I can handle that, and especially being out in the West, knowing that you got to compete with San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Golden State on a regular basis. It's the losses that I don't get. Those are what has me scratching my head. When you're almost 10 games above 500, yet you're being outscored for the season on average, that does not add up. Offense wins you games. Defense wins you championships. And obviously you have no defense. If you've won 9 more games in your season, and yet you've been outscored on average by a whole point, you're not playing defense. And if you're playing defense, it is slap, dirty, sloppy, ugly. And with the injury to Marc Gasol, obviously that is not going to help their situation at all. I don't have the exact details in front of me. I just know that Marc Gasol is down and out, and I want to say that he's done for the season, if I'm not sadly mistaken. So a Memphis team that was not really a team that people were pointing fingers at, and it's really not fair to say with San Antonio and San Antonio, Golden State, nobody's pointing any fingers except for those 2 out in the West. But you take those 2 teams aside, they're still not the favorites out there with Oklahoma and the Clippers. You know, Memphis is about where the fifth, sixth team that's in line. And it would take quite a few miracles and a couple teams to decide that they were not going to participate or take in the postseason festivities in order for Memphis to even be considered a favorite. And I know it's that because they got a decent team, a really good team, and they have a good record, and it's, you know, it's just one of those things that nobody looks at the Memphis Grizzlies as really a serious threat. And like I said, I'm not trying to rain on their parade or anything, but they just don't. Nobody's fighting. So this is an interesting story. After signing a $184 million contract, Jason Hayward thanked a teammate by giving him a hotel suite for every road game. Jason Hayward, one of the biggest free agents of the offseason, signing an 8-year, $184 million contract. Gotta know. You know Mr. CJ Sports. He's always got to know what that breaks down to. So we're going to pull out the nifty calculator here before we continue any farther, because I got to know what that breaks down to. 184. 1, 2, 3. There's a lot of zeros. $184 million. Take that to 8 seasons, $23 million a season. Break that down a little bit farther. $141,975.31 a game. A game. Break that down a little bit farther. $15,775.03 an inning to play baseball. Could you imagine getting paid $15,000 to play baseball? To sit on a bench half the game, waiting for your turn you might get 3 at-bats in 9 innings. So roughly, let's say 4 and 4 bats, just short. So roughly $4,000 a bat, basically. $15,000 an inning. The rest of the time you're standing there. If your pitcher does what he's supposed to do and does not allow the other team to have a hit, you get $15,000, just short of $16,000 an inning, just to stand there. Just to stand there, twiddle your thumbs, blah-de-da, pick dandelions, play with butterflies, $15,000. And we wonder why this great nation is in the hole that they're in when we're willing to pay a baseball player $16,000 an inning. Come on, people. $16,000. Well, the Chicago Cubs, and one of his first moves with his new club was to thank a veteran teammate for helping when Hayward's career first started. David Ross, a 38-year-old catcher for the Cubs, has announced this would be his final season in the big league. Ross and Hayward were teammates with the Atlanta Braves in 2010 when Hayward was a rookie. The experience left a lasting impression on Hayward as well, thanked Ross by paying for him to be upgraded to a hotel suite for every road game this season, according to Terry Muskrat of MLB.com. That's one of the first emotional moments I've had in the offseason, Ross said. Hayward texted me this nice ball message about supposedly what I've done for him. That was cool to start reflecting back and people you played with starting saying nice things. Ross has had a journeyman career playing for 7 different clubs in 14 seasons, mostly as a backup. He only played in 59 games during the 2010 season with the Braves, but it sounds like the value of his team goes well beyond his production on the field. I tell you what, that's a really cool thing. You know, not every player shows his appreciation when it comes to other players or those that help put them where they're at. And to see Jason Hayward do this, it was really a cool thing. You don't see that. And, you know, at least some of that money gets redirected into a positive. I guess that's the only way I can look at it and feel somewhat positive about the fact that Jason Hayward is getting paid just short of $16,000 an inning to play baseball. Like, I think that if not for that, I don't think I could accept any part of that contract. And I'm sorry, it's not a shot at Jason Hayward. It is a shot of the craziness of the amount of money that these people are making to simply play baseball. Social media. Social media be killing me. I can remember the good old days when social media was not what the players did in their personal time stayed their personal time. And now here we are, and no matter what it could be very minor of an incident. And because of social media, it gets blown into this really big story. And so but yes, I just where social media has taken media when it comes to sports and athletes. And I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing, because there are things that we get to know that we wouldn't get to know, and obviously it's helped bring attention to some positive things and some to careers that we wouldn't have focused on, and I think that's helped helped with contracts and everything else. So I'm not going to say, social media, and of course I can't say to what extent, because we use social media, and here we are talking sports radio and writing sports and kind of what we do here. But with that all to the side, obviously I think it does more evil and more harm than it does good. But the good that it does do, the positive attention that social media brings to athletes, I think there's enough to outweigh the bad. I think unless you're doing a Q&A or doing an update on the when you get home of how you performed or something, I think outside of that, or if you got some kind of sponsor obligation or charity event or going on, a show or something, or, if you want to be personal with your fans and talk about positive personal things in your life, family, babies, marriage, stuff like that, vacation, yeah, I'm fine with that. But anything outside of that, frustration, trades, you name it, performances, officiating, other teams, robbery, I think that's all harmful, and I wish that athletes would learn to stop twitching that thumb. And I don't think it could have been said any better when I watched Draft Day, and listening to Kevin Costner talk about the player that ended up taking number one in that draft pick out of Ohio State. Talking about there's nothing worse than, there's nothing more that irritates or piss off or something than a general manager, and that's a player that's quick to go run their mouth on social media anytime they're not happy or whatever. And I completely agree. And there's a lot of athletes and a lot of wives and husbands or family members of athletes that really need to learn. Hey, look, we gotta learn not to vent on social media. We gotta learn to call our best friend, or we gotta learn to call our family. We gotta learn to call our significant other and talk to them directly on the phone if we're frustrated. Because social media is honestly not the place to vent. Because no matter how you say it, if it's not something positive and the things that I mentioned, everything else will get twisted into a point that it makes you look bad. And by now, you would think, wow, I get it. I have seen this person screw up. And yet, I guarantee you, before that clock strikes midnight and we go into 2017, we're going to have somebody say something very stupid on social media. There is no doubt in my mind there's going to be an athlete that's going to throw something out there once again, and it never fails. And I don't know. Eventually they'll get it. Don't forget, tomorrow night we got Racing with Big Sweat and 110 Nation all together, one show. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the opportunity to have Steve Billmeyer, Big Sweat himself, back in the studio, doing what he loves doing best. If you don't know Steve Billmeyer, a couple of his highlights, other than his own racing team, he was crew chief for Tim Richmond, Jeff Bodine, Jimmy Johnson, all back in the day. Was also had direct consultation in the making of Days of Thunder. A lot of that stuff that they did and what was used in that movie to include, if you watch Days of Thunder, when he was told to go out and hit the pace car, that he hit everything else out of the track and he wanted to be perfect. So all this stuff really happened. Steve thought about that was something from Tim Richmond. But Harry Hyde and the stuff that they used, that was, Steve informed them all that stuff, and they used it in that movie. And, having the opportunity to sit in the studio with someone like that, a legend such as Steve Billmeyer, a really, really cool thing. And so looking forward to sitting down tomorrow night with Steve Billmeyer, Racing with Big Sweat, 9 o'clock. Don't forget, Monday through Friday, 110 Nation Sports Show, 9 p.m. Happy Hour Garage, Sunday night, 7 p.m. The Dirt Talk Hour, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. And then Rubbin' Is Racing's Monday night, 7 p.m., all Eastern Standard Time. Like I said, I am moving, and the 110 Nation studio is going to be relocating next week. So we will be bringing back the 110 Nation morning show the week after that, when I get everything settled in and get back into the routine. And then also, don't forget to check us out at www.the110nationsports.com. That's our blog site, or our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Also, you can check me out on Twitter at CJSports1. You can check out the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Also, check us out on Facebook, the 110 Nation, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Steve's got a show filled full of guests. I'm waiting on word on Friday. I'm not 100% sure if we got guests on Friday or not. I would be willing to bet you're probably not, but we'll still be on the air. Don't worry. No fear. We'll be here. I think that's about it. I think we're going to get wrapped up here for the night. Trying to think if there's anything else we need to talk about before we jump out of here. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m., we will be here. Make sure you guys are here for another fun night of talking sports. Till then, you guys have a great night.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation. So be sure to visit the110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
This tax refund season, Metro PCS has an offer so good you'll want to shout it from the mountaintops.
Switch to Metro PCS! And get two 4G LTE phones for free!
Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free 4G LTE smartphones from brands like Samsung and LG. Only at Metro PCS. Limited time offer. Sales tax not included in phone price. After instant rebate. Coverage and services not available everywhere. See store for details and terms and conditions.